In this example, we're going to look at project initiation and stakeholder management. So we need to be clear on what you do at initiation, around looking at influence and attitude, around looking at commitment to the project, the benefits by stakeholder group, and the changes that you may require of individuals or groups when you're delivering your implementation to help bring in a successful project. Now, the first thing we need to agree is, what do we mean by stakeholder management? The Association for Project Management produced a body of knowledge, and the 6th edition gives a definition of stakeholder management. It says, stakeholder management is the systematic identification, analysis, planning, and implementation of actions designed to engage with stakeholders. So now we need to understand who the stakeholders are. Well, again, referring to the Association for Project Management body of knowledge, they list out 4 items. Firstly, the individuals and groups performing the work, who's going to be delivering the project. The second are those individuals and groups who are affected by the project or program or its outputs. The third group are the owners, perhaps of the business, shareholders and customers. It may impact on them. And the last group may be statutory and regulatory bodies. It could be that the implementation is there to meet some strategic objective which also has a legal requirement, and a regulatory body will want to see that it's going to be delivered successfully. We have our list of stakeholders. Now we need to analyse them. And the first thing we'll do is the influence attitude grid. In Gerald Bradley's book, Benefit Realisation Management, he gives us an example of what this can look like. On the left hand side we have the influence, and along the bottom we have the attitude. The influence can be from high through to low, and the attitude to the project from negative to neutral to positive. And we map onto that each of our stakeholder groups. So for example, it could be operational management have a fairly negative attitude to the project. Their influence is low to medium. The board of directors may overall be quite positive, and of course their influence is high. A CEO sponsored project would have someone who's got high influence and is very positive. And the end users may be positive about the outcomes, looking forward to the new implementation, but their influence overall is quite low. Finally, there could be regulators. They've got a neutral attitude about the project, but they have very high level of influence, perhaps for statutory reasons. For each of our stakeholder groups, we need to understand about resistance. So what we should list out for each stakeholder is what we think the perceived benefits are. These may not be the real ones, but it's what they perceive them to be. And then what are the changes that are required in their behaviours, and what do we think their resistance will be? And against that, to have a look at their commitment, whether it's current and what's required. Could it be anti? They have no commitment at all. They let it happen so they don't get in the way. They help it happen, or they're very proactive and they make the project happen and work with us. The previous slide identified the theory. Let's look at a worked example. And again, I'll refer to Gerald Bradley's book, Benefit Realisation Management. So on the left-hand side, we have our senior management. And the perception is that our project will improve the organisational reputation. One of the changes needed is to amend the way we incentivise our employees. We've got to provide incentives for them to change behaviours. But we recognise that senior management are reluctant to do this. So on their commitment, the current commitment is they don't have that commitment to make those changes. We need to move them along that line to make it happen. So the required commitment is that they will amend the reward structures so that we can help change employee behaviours. To summarise then, at the start of our project we need to list out our stakeholders and our stakeholder groups. From that, to identify the level of influence and their attitude to the project. And then to have a look at, for each of those groups or individuals, what are the changes required and what's the anticipated resistance and then from their commitment to say where it currently is and where do we want it to be to get our project successfully delivered. For further information on what we've covered today, there are two references. The first one is the Association for Project Management Body of Knowledge, and the second one is Gerald Bradley's book, Benefit Realisation Management. My name's John Chapman. I do hope you have found this of interest. If you'd like to talk with us further about how we can plan and kick off your project and do stakeholder management at initiation, please give us a call. Goodbye.